Welcome to the implementation overview video for the Year 3-4 Times Table and Fluency Targeted Intervention. How we help you to set up the evaluation. First thing we ask you to do is identify two similar ability classes. You'll then complete the pre-assessment test with both classes. And then the What Worked Teachers platform will randomly allocate one class to the intervention and one to the comparison. The intervention group will use a strategy for the duration of the trial, and the comparison group will continue as normal. And then both groups will complete the post-assessment test, which is the same as the pre. The What Worked Teachers platform will then generate an impact report, and if the approach shows promise, then you can implement this in the other class. So moving on to a step-by-step approach to looking at the planning. So step 1. Identify two similar ability classes to participate in the evaluation from the same year group. Step 2. Read the intervention schedule and print off the resource packs for the times tables that you will be teaching in the next 5 weeks. These are included in the resource folder. Step 3. Complete the pre-assessment maths test with both classes. Record the marks in the Excel tracker that's located in the resource folder and input these into the pre-test on the trial wizard. As you're using class level data, we advise that one teacher reads out the score and the other one inputs this into the platform. It will speed up the process. So moving on to the implementation. Step 4, using the trial wizard on the What Worked Teachers platform, randomly assign classes to the intervention and then the comparison group. Step 5, the intervention group of students follow the delivery schedule for the times table fluency lessons. The comparison group will continue with business as usual for the duration of the trial. And then step 6, complete the post-assessment maths test, which is the same as the pre to both the intervention and comparison group. Record the marks in the Excel tracker that's located in the resource folder and then input the post-test onto the trial wizard. You'll then complete a very short process evaluation and then click Analyze, which will then generate an impact report for your school. So the intervention is a targeted number fluency intervention which focuses on Year 3 and 4 pupils. It's delivered by a teacher as a whole class activity, and each session will take approximately 15 minutes. How it works. So this systematic approach to teaching timetables aims to help develop children's fluency when recalling facts to 12 times 12. It has been designed with 4 characteristics of effective fluency practice in mind. It's spacing, interleaving, testing, and overlearning. And the timetables are learnt in the following order, but we do understand that different schools have different sequences, so just make sure this fits in with what you're teaching. When learning the facts in each of the times table, key facts are broken down into manageable chunks and introduced using a phonics flashcard approach so children learn the sound pattern of each fact. Rehearsal of the facts happens little and often, and interleaving is used to ensure children consolidate previously learnt facts. The systematic approach also ensures children develop an understanding of the cumulative law and the relationship between multiplication and division facts. The approach can be used as a whole class teaching method in this approach or as a TA intervention and requires a low amount of resourcing as all the resources are included in the folder. Each session should take no longer than 15 to 20 minutes. So in each session, you first have the teaching flashcards, which take about 10 minutes. So children need to be able to count through the multiples in that half of the table first before learning the sound pattern to each multiplication fact in order. E.g., 1 5 is 5, 2 5s are 10. Once children are confident, the teacher could then challenge children to recall the multiplication facts out of order. This should be repeated with the division facts so children are confident with the inverse of each multiplication fact. The teacher models writing the division calculation alongside the multiplication on the whiteboard. Again, this should be said using a sound pattern sentence. So there is 1 5 and 5, there are 2 5s and 10. You can develop division flashcards if this would make it easier. And then depending on the fluency confidence of the group, the teacher may spend 1 or 2 sessions just using the flashcards to introduce the new set of facts before using the booklets for independent practice. So the rehearsal practice booklets take about 5 minutes. Once children are familiar with the first set of facts, the booklets should be used at the end of each session so children can practice the facts they've learned. If the teacher feels children need more rehearsal of the new facts, this practice may not start until the second or third session. Within each booklet there are 22 tests. There are 40 questions in each test and they're structured as followed. Tests 1 to 4 is the first half of the new times table. Tests 5 to 8, the second half of the new times table. Tests 9 to 12, it's all of the new times table. And tests 13 to 22, it's a new times table combined with previously learned times tables. The school which developed this approach has basically shared their strategy for how they implement this. So it goes through session 1, session 2, session 3, session 4. Then session 5, 6, 7, and 8 on a 2-week timetable. And then you can see from there for week 3, 4, and 5. That will be found in the resource folder. So in the resource folder, you will also see the PDF of the flashcards for each times table and a rehearsal booklet. Make sure you print these off with a planning sheet for the ones that you require for the duration of the trial. You'll also find the tracking spreadsheet, which allows you to link an anonymized student ID to a student in the classes. And then finally, just moving on to key considerations. Logistical issues need to be considered before using a targeted timetable and fluency strategy. So is there a suitable time of the day for this? Make sure you print off the schedule and any resources that you need. And then will you possibly link this to rewards? So logistical barriers are common in any intervention delivered in schools, so it's important to consider these prior to starting. So moving on to the assessment. To measure the impact of the intervention, you will need to create an assessment to use at the start and the end of each trial for both the groups. This will be the 20 times table questions, which will be timed at 6 seconds per question. As schools will be learning different timetables during the school year, you can create an assessment using the timetables that you'll be teaching in the 5-week block and include a few from the previous learning. So in total, you will need 20 questions, which will then be delivered at 6 seconds per question for the students to answer. And the same test will be used for the pre and the post assessment. So just one final recap on this. So you're using, for the pre-test, you're using your own bespoke assessment that you create. It is timed at 20 questions at 6 seconds per question. The resource folder includes a pupil answer template that you can use. And then once you've done the pre-assessment task, please record the score for each learner in the Excel tracker and then input this into the What Worked Teachers platform. For the post-assessment, at the end of the trial, you use the same assessment that you used for your pre for both the groups, and this is used to measure the progress and the effectiveness of the intervention. Please record the score for each learner in the Excel tracker and then input this into the What Worked Teachers platform. So that is the end of your implementation guidance. The next thing to do is to download your research protocol, the resource folder, and then start your trial wizard.